All right, guys, it happened. Kyrie Irving has officially returned into the NBA, played his first game with the Nets away, because of course that's the only type of games he can play. Actually started for the lineup, which everybody was up in the air, like how is he going to start, how many minutes he's going to get, how is he going to perform, etc., etc. And I think it's safe to say, aside from a little showboating from Lance in the first quarter,
Facts.
Kyrie did what Kyrie was supposed to do, basically, and he just was beat Kyrie. And then Durant also was like, you know what, I'm gonna drop a little 40 piece on everybody tonight, like too. Yeah,
I want to remind people, since people are watching, I'm KD.
And then the Nets decided to give us a little even more entertainment by going, you know what, we're gonna let them take an almost 20-point lead, and then we're gonna still win the game.
You know what?
It's fucking crazy.
It was a crazy game. Kudos to the Pacers for, despite them being, I don't know, they're having an ass year, for putting up an entertaining fight versus the Nets team. With
shout out to Lance for putting up an entertaining performance. In those first. Remember we were having a BTD meet, so we didn't actually watch the game. But my TL for like that time was like straight. I saw like 5 to 10 tweets back to back all in the span of like 2 minutes of Lance Stevenson, Lance, and I was like, yo, I think Lance is popping off right now. Yeah, it was crazy.
Man. The guy looks rejuvenated playing with the Pacers.
For real.
This is third stint with the Pacers. You'd be thinking like, oh, okay, this is second stint.
Man might end up getting his statue. Could you imagine?
From what it looks like, man. Shit.
It'll be him. If you were to ever get a statue, it would be him blowing in LeBron's ear. Iconic moment.
But anyways, man, from everything that we saw, Andrade, what do we learn from Kyrie's first game back?
Oh boy, we learned one, Kyrie still got it. I don't think too many of us doubted it anyways, but like, hey, he was off for a couple of months, so it was really up in the air, but he still got it. And to the Nets, still look the same, meaning they're not the best defensive team, but yes, they're still a scary juggernaut.
Mind because they're the number one seed even without Kyrie.
Yeah, and this is still regular season performance. So like, yeah, you could say like we're still only getting like, you know, a sugarcoat version of the Nets. You know what I mean? Because that's how stars play. They don't, aside from a couple dope performances, they're gonna hold back a little, preserve getting injured until the playoffs, because that's when it really matters. Let's be honest.
No, of course, man. Look, the couple of takes that I got is, number one, Kyrie rusty as fuck.
Still better than
90%
of the NBA.
80% of the NBA.
I was gonna say, but I don't know, man. Thinking about it, because even if you look at the highlights, he still has some Kyrie-esque moves, and wait until give him a few more games. Oh God.
Okay, number two. You saw, wow, they won the game versus the Pacers. The Pacers are a fucking ass team, and they struggled. They had to come back.
Yeah, they gotta get better with that
to beat them. So the thing I want to say is that Kyrie coming back is not gonna be something that
he's not the Messiah of Brooklyn.
Yeah, it's not gonna be an overnight fix.
Yeah,
luckily
for
enough,
sure.
There's still a lot of
I mean, we'll definitely touch on some of the bad stuff too throughout this video.
A lot of season left. And the number 3 thing is Kyrie return, like, is this gonna like start making teams like think we don't want home court advantage? Because if we have home court advantage, they're gonna be playing on the road, and the Nets are gonna be fully healthy.
I don't know where I heard this, but I don't think it was with Kyrie specifically, but I did remember hearing one of the commentators, like not again, but just in general, like, so sports analysts talk about that, like if home court really mattered, because some players can't play home court, or like also with the whole 2022 pandemic that we're still in, it's like it's still different.
For all we know, they might go back to a bubble. Maybe.
We did make a video about that.
No chance.
Go check that out. But all right, let's break this down.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Kyrie Irving had 22 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, 3 steals in only 32 minutes, and he knocked down crucial baskets down the stretch that like helped take away that 19-point deficit. Yeah. One thing I did forget to mention when I answered your question is one of my biggest takeaways is that the Nets chemistry as a whole, I'm talking about the organization, the staff, and the players, is pretty strong. it's pretty uniform.
Well, they've been together for a year.
It's but it's not even just that, but it's the way that they have routed around Kyrie during this whole kind of chaotic, almost mess that I don't want to say he's made, but they just been in. Coach Nash, KD, Harden, the people that really matter on the squad, all vouch for him. They all stand up for him. They back him up. And if you've noticed, we have not gotten. It's one thing to say something in public, but then quote unquote leaks happen and you hear all the shit. We have not gotten leaks. There's no smoke coming out of that house. So, and I'll talk about it later after you jump in. I want to say some quotes because that's what really solidified it for me. I'm like, damn, their chemistry off court seems pretty strong. That's scary when we're talking about these three talented players because that's gonna transcend onto the court. We already saw a little bit of it yesterday. Now just imagine once they get a couple more games together and shit like that. Yeah,
what I wanted to say is like, my first point is that Kyrie is rusty. Like with the fact that their chemistry is A1 right now, that's gonna help expedite the process of him getting over that rust that he's going with right now. So you have to worry about so much about hey, where KD's gonna be, where James Harden's gonna be, where Blake Griffin's gonna be, where so and so player's gonna be.
If I remember correctly, his first basket was an assist to KD.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And I was like,
I mean, I don't blame him. Shit, man. If I was
metaphorically,
that'll be one of the first people I'm gonna throw.
Good point.
KD, here
Good point. And then, all right. Speaking of KD, listen to these beautiful words Kevin Durant had to say about Kyrie, which to me really personifies these two are boys. These two are legit boys. And when you're playing with your boy, we saw it with Wade and LeBron. Besides them being incredibly fucking talented, if you got that bond, that can really help you go pretty far in anything. It's just success in life, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And KD said, quote, "It was amazing to have him out there. I just missed his presence around the locker room, his energy, his vibe around the team. And then his game is just so beautiful. It makes the game so much easier for everybody out there. It was amazing to see him out on the floor again. The crowd showed him so much love. Teammates, just the game of basketball is happy to have him back. He made the game so much more difficult for the Pacers, giving us a different attack, especially in the fourth quarter. We'll just keep building on this."
Love it.
And KD is not a man of many words a lot of times when it comes to post-conference. That's a whole ass paragraph he gave Kyrie.
Unless it's Twitter, man.
That man was just feeling it. He's like, you know what? I'm going to go off. And Harden said it's special when he was asked about Kyrie. It felt like he's been playing all season. He looked comfortable as usual. His pace, his rhythm, it looked like Kyrie. Well, no shit, Harden. But Harden, obviously, I don't think they're besties as KD and Kyrie, but Harden, obviously close to KD. They used to play for when they were young. Backed them up. And what I do love is that last year we saw Kyrie defer the ball more to Harden last year. And now this year we kind of see Harden's okay with deferring the ball more to Kyrie. And just that natural, there's no, at least so far, ego that really screams at us from the court when these three are on the floor. Well, and that's huge when it comes to a team sport.
Well, of course it's ego, but these guys are a lot further along in their career.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
I get you, and the number one thing on their mind right now is championship.
Yeah, because they got their money. They got their fame, popularity, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Now it's just to show up and win that ring for Brooklyn.
Yeah, all they got to focus on at this point, all three of them at this stage in their career, is their legacy. And the thing is, even if they never win anything, obviously it'll hurt their legacy. Mm-hmm. All three of those individuals have a pretty historic presence in NBA history. All three of them. It's insane.
So let's go now with the bad. Not only for the Nets, we're gonna start with the Nets first, but and then after after we go with that, the bad, I guess, for the Eastern Conference for the teams of what they're gonna do now. Yeah. So okay, obviously they look rusty, and based on how we were seeing them against the Pacers, clearly, it's not gonna be an overnight fix.
Yeah.
So what do you think are some things that you noticed in the Nets that maybe not concern you, but it called your attention?
Dude, I thought there were gonna be more things. The main thing is just interior defense, because they don't have a really strong big man that can cover. Imagine if they got Rudy Gobert, they'd be set. But or even Draymond. But that's literally their only problem that I can see. And then maybe some depth like in case of safety and protocols, if like the 3 stars are like, but literally 2 out of the 3 stars would have to be out, which is like obviously higher chance with what the current state that we're in. But at the same time, even if you have one of those 3, like you're still better off than a lot of other teams.
Okay.
But honest, bro, one thing I want to touch on later after the bat is my more takeaways were positive than anything, which is weird because I have not been super high on this team, but at the same time I'm like, there's nothing screaming at me. It's not like the Lakers. There's nothing that's like really screaming at me where I can see like cracks in the armor, like, or not necessarily, but like significant cracks. Just like, oh, okay, this could be it. But they have so much offensive power. Well,
I mean, besides the obvious, the Kyrie's unvaccinated. So
yeah,
he's gonna be more susceptible than a vaccinated player.
It's like their negatives aren't that big. You know what I mean?
The defense, obviously.
And obviously, and another thing that I keep thinking too, though, where I'm like kind of harking back on my criticism of their defense is wait until the playoffs. One thing I always talk about is that during the playoffs, a lot of players that don't play defense put a lot more effort on defense when it matters. Yeah, and those 3, they put effort. Harden's already shown it in his career. Let Kyrie put a little more effort when it matters. I think we're gonna be surprised that they're not gonna be fucking the Heat or anything, but they'll be a solid.
They'll be more than good enough. And you saw what was happening in the
especially with the offensive power they have.
Exactly, you saw what was happening in the second round versus the defending champions, the Bucks. They were kicking their asses before the injury bug decided to say something.
Before KD wore a size too big.
Exactly. But going with the Eastern Conference now, saying like this, let's go with my third point is, what do you think is going to happen now, like with the Eastern Conference? Like, are there going to be some teams that are going to be jockeying to not
We've talked about this, and we've talked a lot about the Heat.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be honest with you, man. I think, in a way, we might look back on this a couple months from now, and this whole Kyrie unvaccinated I guess protest, for lack of a better word, may end up being a positive in the long run for the Nets, because it made them come together stronger than ever as a unit, as a family, as a team, that they probably wouldn't have experienced if he didn't go through all this shit. And it may help him through the playoffs, because at the end of the day, nobody in the East, or maybe even the West, has 3 fucking potential superstar offensive beasts on their team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, the Heat have been doing really well. I would say they have more depth than
majority of teams.
The Nets. Yeah. But who cares about that when you have Harden, KD, and Kyrie? And if those 3 are performing, there's nobody. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, even if Jimmy, Bam, Tyler, who am I missing?
If Oladipo comes back,
Kyle.
If Oladipo comes back and he's like 90,
maybe
85%,
maybe
I give him a chance.
But that's the thing.
A chance. If anybody can give the Nets a legit scare.
But I don't believe Oladipo's gonna come back the way Kyrie came back today on 22 points. Is like I was very curious on like, are we gonna get 5 to 10 points? Are we gonna get 10 to 15 points? How conservative is he gonna be? Is he gonna defer the ball a lot? No, this motherfucker came. 22 points is a nice ass return, especially for a debut. After not playing for, I think, since like June.
We're gonna talk more about the Heat later, obviously, but
be honest, is there anyone in the East that scares you for the Nets?
Not
genuinely scares you?
I mean, shit.
That day you think like what scared the Nets?
Playoff time, the Heat. The playoff time.
You're being super biased right now.
I'm not, man.
I think they could put a little scare, but nah.
I'll be more scared. I'll tell you this. I'll be more scared of the Heat than the Bucks. I'll tell you that.
You just shitting on the Bucks, huh?
Man,
no. See, look, this is one thing.
Look, Lowry, Bam.
Oh man, this guy's about to go on a Heat tangent.
Hero, he's playing like an all-star this year. With what's going on with the COVID protocols, you got Yurt, as a big man helping out. You got Strus, he's been stepping up at that.
Yeah.
You got Oladipo in the wings, getting ready, getting prepared. I'm not saying
Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving.
Hey, what are they gonna do when they're not gonna play 48 minutes in the game? What the fuck?
Hey, in the playoffs, they take a lot more minutes. And you never know.
And Kyrie is still unvaccinated. In the case, he's not gonna play for in the road games. So
no, he won't play for the home games.
I mean, my bad. He won't play for the home games.
But that's fine.
Okay, that Heat team fully, they could beat the Nets with only KD and Harden.
they could win some of the games without KD and Harden.
Okay, then maybe they need to only steal one when they're playing at home. You don't think they can steal one?
I think you're being a little biased, I'm going to be honest.
Okay, anyways, we went on a fucking tangent over here.
No, okay, but one thing I do want to bring up is I think someone that's not getting enough credit with this whole Nets team, and
Nash.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is what Nash had to say, quote, "He looks like himself. Not a big surprise watching him play in practice. He's so gifted and talented, and you can see the rhythm was there. But it's still an adaptation, so we got to give him some space here as he transitions back to playing. But tonight, he was big." One thing I've been wanting to point about Nash that I had an epiphany about during this whole Kyrie return is I think this is a prime example of the benefit that a team can reap from when you choose a coach who was a former NBA player.
Of course, man.
And not just a former NBA player, but a star NBA player. Yes, the trenches, but on and off the court. Nash knows what it's like to deal with the spotlight, to deal with the scrutiny, to deal with the chaos, the bullshit.
Of course, man.
On and off the court.
He went through his shit with the Suns, man, getting eliminated
the Spurs, everything,
the Spurs, the Lakers.
So, I think it popped in my head today, like, maybe things wouldn't have gone as smoothly for the Nets as they are right now during this whole Kyrie unvaccinated tornado if they didn't have Nash as a coach. Because a different coach might have felt some type of way. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this player's not listening to the team, or he's not following the team direction or path or whatever. But I think Nash being a former star player, this is where you're getting to see that benefit of, like, he understands more than most people. And the way that he's been behind Kyrie is astonishing to me. Good. And I think that to me is such a big sign of, like, that's what makes me more scared than anything, that, like, once you already have the talent and the hard work, because they put in the hard work, that heart. And players talk about this. I'm not just going off like, oh, this is some fucking Cinderella story. Well, first of all, they're not even a Cinderella because they're they're definitely favorites. But like,
they're more of a juggernaut than fucking. They're the whole castle, not Cinderella.
But like, not that heart that they have formed. I'm telling you, man. I think we're gonna look back and be like, if they win the championship, maybe this little skerfuffle they went through together with Kyrie and backing him up is gonna push them further to the promised land.
Nah, man.
And Nash deserves a big credit for that. And last thing I want to point out is that I heard something Chris Broussard say on First Things First, and it kind of caught me off guard and it made me think, and we could do another video about this because I still have not come to a final opinion from an outsider perspective. But he said that Kyrie is the leader of the team. Like, he believes Kyrie is the leader, the heart. And it made me think a lot about, like,
that makes sense.
Shit, he might be onto something. Yeah, where KD is obviously the best player overall out of all three.
Oh yeah.
Harden can do things that, like, both of them can't. And he said something else about Harden. I forgot what it was.
Not a lot of players can be at the strip club until 4 a.m. and then drop 40 on your ass.
And the thing is, there you go. Harden can. One of the things he brought was, like, Harden can not only provide that offensive power, but he can also be a great point guard when it's needed. And then Kyrie seems to be that leader that, like, he comes together and he helps bring this team together. And I don't know what it is. I have to, like, think about it more. But it really made me think. That's why I wanted to bring it up. And I was like, shit, you might be onto something. And yeah, I think he might finally reach that leader position that he's been wanting since he left Cleveland, which is so weird because it's like, from initial perspective, I don't think we all thought of Kyrie as the leader of the Nets when KD and him joined together.
Well, we'll see what happens, guys.
He's like the Napoleon Bonaparte of the Nets.
Nice. But guys, let us know in the comments what you guys think about the Nets, man. Is it all over for the NBA?
How'd y'all feel about Kyrie's return?
What do you feel about it, man? You excited? Do you care? Do you not care? Are you on his side, being unvaccinated or not? Are you not on his side? Like to hear. Either way, appreciate all the love and the hate. You guys already know. Catch us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all podcast streaming platforms. And Andrade might say this right now.
Most recent video on one side, and the video that YouTube algorithm believes you'll like most out of our channel.
Hey, there it is. Anyways, we'll catch you guys soon. For now,
take care.